All right, continuing along, I am skipping the scrubber tool and the pencil tool. What I will say for the most part to begin, don't mess with the pencil tool in the edit window. The scrubber tool is fine. If you click on it and you come to an audio track, you can kind of move your mouse over and find a section. I have never used that for editing purposes ever since Pro Tools was introduced and you could visually see the waveform. We used to do that on tape to find, a spot to slice the tape. I'm sticking with the idea of not using the pencil tool. So starting here, we have tab to transients, very, very useful when editing audio. If it is engaged, it allows you to click on the tab key of your keyboard and advance to the next transient, being a spike in amplitude or a waveform. You can see where it kind of caught something right there. I can't see that, but I can hear that there's a little bit of a hi-hat. If I zoom up in my audio track, I can see that there's something there. So this is a isolated drum track, so obviously it works quite easily and quite well. It is very, very useful for editing your audio. It also tends to set you up to be at a zero crossing, which we'll talk about later, but it just is, easier for audio purposes. This next one, I have to hover over to make sure I remember what everything is. Link timeline and edit selection. So let's say that I want to place my cursor for playback. I can put it inside of, I want to start right here. I can put it up in the timeline, but I always find it, very useful simply to do that. If I don't do that, it is ignoring where I'm placing my cursor. So if I want to listen to this clip, it's just remembering where it was the last time or where it is in the timeline. So I much prefer to have that clicked so that when I place my cursor or select something, it immediately plays from that point. The next one, there is a use case for this. This is link track and edit selection. Let's say I want to select all of these audio tracks, or all of the tracks starting from measure 2 to measure 3. I could hold this down, I could hold shift and click on these things. But if I have this highlighted, you can see that as soon as where my cursor is, it selects the track. So if I select this clip, it highlights the track. If I then come down and hold shift, it highlights everything below it in the same edit point. If I hold command, I can skip over tracks and highlight just what I want. Very, very useful for when you're saying, I want to take this whole verse section and move it or something like that. I don't use that all the time, but there is a use case. Playback follows insertion. Is that what that one's called? I hate this button for the most part. I like to see it tell me what it is. Insertion follows playback. So that one I have off almost all the time. When you're making music, it is very useful to start at the same point because you're listening, you're making adjustments, you're listening. If this is engaged, where you stop playback is where it will start up again. The only use case that comes to mind immediately is you're listening to a song that's almost finished. You want to kind of listen to it as a whole, and you're playing it for your client or your partners. You're like, oh yeah, wait. Let's pause and talk about that section. Let's just pick up where we left off. Maybe. I don't use it. This next one, automation follows edit. Automation follows edit. Let's say we have some automation. If I choose to move this track, my automation will come with me. So that's useful if you know that you want that automation to go with you. If this is just for the intro, we don't want automation coming with us. So be aware of what that does. It is pretty good, pretty useful. Moving on. Markers follow edit. A few iterations back, Pro Tools created what are called track markers. So a marker is on the timeline is like for the whole song, for the section, for example. Verse 1 starts here. I can put in another marker. Chorus. So now if we move things, we can move a marker. A track marker, if you right click on something, on a track, a clip, you can insert a marker on the track. And let's say, I love you. Because there's a lyric that starts right here. And I want to know just whether it's just for playback purposes, like, hey, can you go to that section in the song where the I love you part comes in? And if this is engaged and we say, let's take the I love you section and swap it, then that goes with you. If that is not engaged, it would stay over there, and that is not all that helpful. Okay. This is mirrored MIDI editing. So the concept is important because it comes up. It's in the MIDI editor as well. I have said before that I don't really use the notes view. Sometimes I do. So I'd come over here and put it into notes. So now I can see that I have multiple clips. These are repeated. And if I want to make a change to this note in all of my clips, I want to have mirrored editing. So I'm going to move that, and it moves every single one in subsequent clips. If I don't want to mess with each one, and I just want to make a move to the intro, I need to make sure that that is off. And then finally, I'll put that back to clips, make it a little bit smaller. If I come to this one, which is called layered editing. Audio in Pro Tools is non-destructive. So if I were to, let's take that off first. Let's say I want to start this about halfway through and I'm overlapping the following clip. If I say, that didn't work, and I move that back, I have lost this content. I can always come back and open it because it's non-destructive. It still exists. But with what is this called? Layered editing. If I choose to do that and I go, no, and I move back, then the audio stays the way that it was. So depending what you're doing, a lot of these things could save you time, but they are kind of pretty specific. But we've gone through each one for a basic idea, and there you go.